Where's the line, though, Harry? Because, you know, we do sports radio, and a lot of times we'll rip a guy when we hear him say, I really didn't I didn't go after that ball because I've got a contract coming next year. I don't want to break my leg and ruin my chance to be able to get that contract.
Well, what Derrick Rose said.
Yeah.
You know, he's not going to play some games because he wants to be able to walk when he's older. Well, but he is getting paid, though.
You know, so where's that line of I want to be able to think about the future, but there is that commodity of part of my contract is to go out there and play and do everything that I can. So is there a certain sacrifice you are making to play football, knowing that by doing your job for your contract and your team and your coach is ultimately going to affect your way of life?
Guys, I really have to recuse myself because I played in a much different era than the era of the guys who are playing now. I understand that football is a business now. Not that it wasn't a business when I played, but it was more about the sport of the game, and it was more about going out there playing for your teammates. Now you got free agency, you got movement among so many different players. And, yeah, I mean, they're trying to get the best contract that they can get. For me, I played during an era in which I gave it up for my teammates. You know, those are the guys who I went out there and I played for. And let me just say this, because I've been listening to you guys talk. You know, you talk about the Knicks and so forth. If you don't want to play the game, if you don't want to give the best effort that you have within you, you should get off the court. You should not even go out there to play. You should take the night off, because I think it's stealing. It's stealing from the fans. It's disappointing your fans. You're stealing from the ball club, and it's not right. Let me just give you one little Harry Carson story. I played during an era in which the Giants were awful. They were back during the 70s when they had the plane flying over and people were burning their tickets and everything. You know, I played during that era. And I was frustrated because I was on some teams that were really lousy teams. But I thought to myself, let me do everything I can do personally to help my team win. And so I was bringing it when I was on the football field. I brought it. Now, during that time, even when the team wasn't doing well, I got voted to go to Pro Bowl after Pro Bowl, and that was during an era in which the fans couldn't vote for you, the coaches couldn't vote for you. It's the guys who you played against. And even though the team sucked, I was going to Pro Bowls because guys who I lined up against, they recognized that I was doing my job. You can fool the coaches, you can fool the fans, and you can fool management, right? But you cannot fool those guys who you line up against and you're playing against. And when you walk off the court or when you walk off the field, the ultimate compliment is if you've got the respect of that person who you lined up against. And unfortunately, I see this not just with the Knicks, but I also see it with other sports teams here in New York. New York is really a great place to play. And when you go out there and you play, when you lay it on the line, people remember. I just left Manhattan. I'm back in Jersey now, and I pulled over to talk to you guys. There is hardly a day that goes by, and I've been out of football 26 years now. There's hardly a day that goes by that somebody doesn't stop me and say, thank you for what you did for the team. And I certainly appreciate that, but there are fans who have long memories. And these guys who are in it just for the money, you know, at some point that money probably will be gone. If you don't have the respect of people who are the fan base, the media, and guys who you played against, if you don't have that respect, then what you did actually amounts to absolutely nothing because it's all gone. You got to walk off the field, walk off the court with the respect of the guys who you compete against. And I think it's sad that we've sort of gotten to this point with sports, and especially sports here in New York, where guys just don't understand what it means to be a New York athlete. They just don't have that toughness. They don't have that tenacity. They don't have that grit that you really have to have to play in this town like so many great players who have preceded them, whether it was in football or basketball or baseball. They have no sense of history, and they have no clue as to what it takes to play in this town.
Talking with Harry Carson on the Big Blue Report, brought to you by Con Air for Men. Let me ask you this, though, Harry. You heard us talking about the Knicks. I mean, Carmelo's the star of that team. If on those Giant teams, somebody didn't bring it, didn't play hard, would you grab him by the neck and say, listen, this is not right? Is it up to Carmelo to get to these guys and say, this you can't be unprepared to play?
Whoever the leader is of the team needs to step out. And if you step on toes, then so be it. You step on toes. We had a game against my last year, 1988. We were playing the Detroit Lions. And we stuck up the place the first half of the game. Now, this is 2 years after winning a Super Bowl. We stuck up the place. And if Giant fans remember, they were throwing things out on the field at halftime as we were going off the field. And I got into the locker room, and we were going over, just about to go over adjustments. And I started screaming and hollering and yelling at the top of my lungs, and I just lost it. And I threw a chair or a helmet or something. But the coaches never had an opportunity to make an adjustment because I exploded. And in essence, I told all of my teammates, if you're not going to go back out there and play, then stay in the locker room. Guys, we went out, and we scored, I think, 19 points. We won like 29-10 or whatever. But it's about the quality of play. If you go out there as a New York player, if you go out there and you lay it on the line, and if you are dominated physically by an opposing team, New York fans see it, they appreciate it, and they recognize it, and they have absolutely no issue with that. If you're overwhelmed and someone is just better than you, and it's obvious that, some other team is better than you. But if you go out there and you just lay it on the line, New York fans are very unforgiving. And players who have played the game in New York are also very unforgiving because all of the players who have played, we have left a legacy for those players who are now playing to carry on. And if they stink up the place, a couple of weeks ago, I spoke to you guys. I said it was embarrassing, to see how Seattle beat the Giants and nobody could stop Marshawn Lynch. It's embarrassing because, you're perpetuating a legacy that was created before you even got there. And so, these guys, they're not just playing for themselves. They're playing to uphold the history and of the organizations in which they're representing.